If you enjoy truthful and heartfelt conversations to inspire you to become a better version of yourself, empowering stories will help you. Good morning, Stephanie. How are you doing?
Good morning, Anna. I'm good. Thank you very much.
I'm so happy and blessed to have you here. And for our community, Stephanie, if you check her profile on LinkedIn, you'll be, oh my God, really? Is she here sharing some time with us, sharing some wisdom? She's a coach, entrepreneurial mentor with BP, Virgin Atlantic, Accenture, teach master students, and at the moment what she's engaged in is corporate culture change, mentoring, emotions at work, feminine leadership, team agility, executive coaching. So there are so many topics that we could talk about that she's an expert in. And I said, well, whatever you want from your heart. So whatever you want to share with our community, Stephanie, from your heart, you're very, very welcome.
Oh, thank you, Anna. I think maybe I'll start with you because you contacted me, and that was quite funny because you sent me a little email on LinkedIn, and in a very humble but very enthusiastic way, you kind of connected and said, "Hey, do you want to, do I dare contact you? And please be on my podcast, but it's okay if you can't, And I thought it was very, very sweet. And at the same time, it touched me because you talked about my picture, and I was like, wow, what you described it in a way that touched me. I thought, wow, you can see all these things in a picture. And so then I thought, okay, so yeah, there's me in that picture. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Christina Stoyan, who's the one who took the picture, who's a professional photographer, and she specializes in women's portraits. And if you go look at her work, I mean, she does, and you can see it in the picture of me, but in all the women that she photographed. And you can see she reveals something of you that maybe you can't see or you don't see anymore. So I just wanted to, touch base on that, because I think it is important for women to see themselves maybe as others see them sometimes, or something that they don't see in themselves anymore. And that connects me to you interviewed Ingun recently, Ingun Bol from Female Wave of Change, and she talks about authentic feminine leadership, and that's why I joined her in the Female Wave of Change and the circle of wise women. Which is weird when you say, oh, I'm joining a circle of wise women, and all of a sudden you think, oh, does it mean I'm wise? Do I have to behave in a certain way? Do I have to do things and look really kind of, I'm wise and I've got gray hair and all of that? But all of these things are kind of made me think about who am I and what image do I give? What do people expect of me? And with all of these voices that you hear, can you really be your authentic self at work? Because that's kind of what has become my life mission, is to help people be themselves and not just wear a mask all the time, when they are in these social places, and especially work where we spend so much time. So yeah, I think I'm going round, but the idea is really this: how can you show who you are, and you're saying talk from the heart, but how can you talk from the heart when you've got all of these things that's telling you, no, you can't, or you should be like this, or we don't do it this, in that way here, or and you have learned throughout the years in all our professional experiences, you have learned to wear a mask, and in that situation, I wear this mask, and the happy girl or the perfect woman or the top performer or the hero in here, you have all of these masks that you wear. And after a while, I think you get probably confused, and it's just kind of like, and you get these many people going through midlife crisis is at some point thinking, I'm tired of wearing all of these masks and armors, and I just want to breathe and be myself, and then like it or not, But in a way, do we need to fight, and kind of really, I want to be myself here and kind of, be confronted to lots of resistance? Or, and this is where I'm going with that, do we want to change the environment we're in? Kind of change the rules of working together, changing the culture of the company, of the organization, of the nation and the world. Okay, no, I'm not going that far, but at least, working places, and maybe to ensure that we can be ourselves there. And I think what Ingun is doing with Female Wave of Change, what I'm doing in organizations, what you're doing by giving voice to women, how a photographer is doing by showing, it's kind of creating environment and spaces where it is okay to be yourself. And women's circles as well are places where you can do that. And I'm hoping that, what we're all doing will make it so that, the future generations will be able to go to work and just be themselves and contribute in their own way, creatively, or, be super performers if they want to be, and that fulfills them, not because they have to, and there's like rules and a strict way, and then they go to burnout because they're really trying to please everyone, etc., etc. So I went on a rant on this one.
No, I just can't wait for you to share with us some nuggets of wisdom, some tips or something. As you were talking, I was going back to all the years that I've been working, and first it was corporate, now by myself with my partner, and on and on and on. I could see that it's not okay just to be myself. To approach a job from a feminine energy. I'm not saying from a woman, it could be from a man, but from a feminine energy of all together, let's contribute, let's nurture each other. I tried it even with women, it didn't work. I gave them one tip of my pinky and they grabbed up to my head, even women. But I know that comes from the past. With men, now I'm teaching how to invest in the stock market. Still now, men tend, even if I am the one teaching, men tend to turn around their heads and ask my partner, who's a man. It's still there, it's in ourselves. How can we change that? What can we do, Stephanie? Let us know.
Well,
change the world now.
Okay. I'm going to give you the magic wand, and in 1, 2, 3, there it is.
Done.
Nice. It does take some work, but it's not like hard work. It's just discipline and regular kind of. It's slow pace, and that's why maybe sometimes it's frustrating because we're not there yet, and it takes time. But it's with like any cultural change in environments, it takes first some pioneers. Some people who dare to be the first to change. Like you said, you might be the first in a group to slightly change the way you interact, to be more vulnerable, to show emotions, so all of these things, you might be the first to start it. And that's a tough job. It requires a lot of courage because you're the pioneer. And there's an expression that says, the pioneers are the ones with the arrows in their backs. Because they're the first one to go into the uncharted territory. They discover the first dangers. They receive, they go through the walls, so they hurt themselves. And, so in a way, the pioneers are the ones who need to have like tough shoulders and the good heart that will motivate them to, help them carry on. You need to be motivated to go, okay, I know it's not going to be easy. And yes, some people will not agree and I will get some resistance, But if you get resistance, it probably means that it is worth it, that you are actually changing something. If there's no resistance, it means you're not doing it. I mean, not you're not doing anything, but it means you're not pushing.
Yes.
You're not pushing. If you are getting resistance, it means that you are moving the lines. Now, it might feel like you're not moving much because, it does take some time, and maybe it's moving only a tiny bit. But if everyone is starting to push, then yes, the world is going to move. The things are going to change. Yeah, and to get also the energy and the motivation to push the lines, I often say to people, use your anger. Now, some people say, what? You don't want to be emotional at work? It's really not a good thing. And I'm not saying go crazy and shout and be violent and have an explosive anger. I'm just saying, understand your anger. What do you want to change? Because usually if you watch some of my, I've made some videos about emotions, what they mean, and how to kind of understand their message, so that you can use their energy, because emotion is energy and it's moving you. Motion, etc. So basically, if you look at anger wants to, it comes from an evaluation of, I'm not happy with this situation. There is something wrong here, or this is not acceptable, or there is an obstacle, we need to go through it where we want to go. So where anger comes from, something is not as I think it should be. It's always from my perspective, of course. So I want to change that. So anger is giving me like a volcano. Anger, if you look at, so you can only see parts of my body, but basically anger starts from your belly in a way, and it's rising and it's hot and it's kind of want to come out like a volcano. It's usually making you kind of bigger. Your arms and hands might, want to go in the air with your fist, your voice, everything is kind of going bigger.
Yes.
Okay? And with also a lot of intensity, which means it can last a while. Yeah. All of this is actually allowing you to have strength so you can push. Yes. If you want to make a change, you need action. You need to engage in something. So this anger that's rising, if it is rightly channeled, and not exploding. So if it's really channeled, it gives you a lot of energy, to kind of do something, change the world, change how you work in a team, change your company. And also because it's a volcano and can be intense and it lasts a long time, it gives you endurance as well, because making change doesn't happen overnight many times. So you need to have the energy like every day. So it needs to fill you so you can have the energy to every day, okay, I'll push and I'll push again and I continue pushing, even though you might not get results straight away. Okay? Yeah. So you see how if you work with your emotions, more understanding what they mean, it gives you can then use them. And that's what you see in society, but we often don't call it anger. But if you look at Martin Luther King or any man or woman who has really made an impact on the world, often, not all the time, but often, they have channeled anger in a powerful speech, often. Yeah, and maybe the fist is raised or not, but you see that their intention to go, this is not acceptable. Let's, put our energy and change this together. And then people join in because they are touched and moved with this anger. And you see that it doesn't necessarily need to be violent. Yeah? Because often, and I think if I stay on this topic, because I think maybe it's important for women to understand that we haven't learned as women most of the time in our culture, and I'll generalize a little bit here, but we haven't learned how to express anger because we have been taught that anger in women is unacceptable.
Yes.
Yeah, we have to be nice. We have to make sure things and smooth. And I see many women in my coaching practice, in my mentoring, in training, and I see in networks, I see many women, and they are scared of conflict. I have been scared of conflict for a long time, of conflict, confrontation, difficult conversations, things where they would have to voice their opinion and know that, they will probably meet resistance. They haven't learned to voice their anger because they think that being angry equals being violent and aggressive, and that's what men do, and women, no, don't do that. And if I give you maybe a personal story to illustrate, for me, for a long time, anger equals violence. Okay? In my mind, that's the belief I had for a very long time. And I'm sure many, many people, a lot of women, probably still have that belief in their mind. Okay? If you are angry, you are violent. And if, like me, you're a non-violent person, or you wish to have more peace in the world and you really don't want to go into violence, then anger becomes unacceptable because they're one and the same thing in your mind.
Yes.
So every time I saw someone being angry, I would kind of shy away. And every time maybe I had anger in me, because I'm a human being, I get angry about things like everyone else, I would just push it away. Because I couldn't accept anger in my life. Because anger, violence, me non-violent, I don't do anger. And at some point, so that's funny how our brain works, because, we are capable of very fascinating things, actually. I was thinking at some point, that's my ego talking, that I do not do anger in a very British way. I don't do anger. That's what I was telling myself. And really, I was completely deluded because it was so unacceptable for me to have anger in my life that I even thought, oh, I'm better than you, oh, you little people, you do angry things, you haven't understood, I'm so elevated and spiritual. I don't do anger. God. And at some point, you delude yourself because it makes you maybe cope better or feel like, you're good, everything's okay, but you're not actually handling it. You're just making lists of, I call them packages. My husband's going to laugh when he's going to see this. Anyway, call them packages, things that you deny. You put them in a little packet and you stuff them in the underneath the house. You hide the boxes, things you don't want to see. It's still there, but you're not looking at them. Anyway, what helped me is I probably was doing some reading, and I came across the fact that anger didn't need to be violent. That anger is the emotion you feel. Violence might be the behavior you show with anger, but they were two separate things. So that was the first thing I understood, actually starting to help me disconnect anger from violence. And the second thing is understanding that actually the message anger is telling me is there is something that is wrong here, wrong for you, and you can change it. If you do something, maybe you can change it. So the message of anger was change, not violence and destruction and all of the scary things I imagined. So the moment I understood that anger had a purpose, that anger could move me to help me change my environment, the situation, then anger became acceptable, which meant I could actually say something like, oh, I'm angry about this, as before I would never could say that.
Wow.
Then I had to learn, okay, now I'm angry. What do I do with it? Because nobody's told me what to do with all this. So yeah, I would say to people, if you want to change your environment, you have to have the courage to be a pioneer and try things. know that, it might not be easy and you will get some resistance. And if you want some motivation, channel your anger and see what's really important. But choose your battles wisely. Don't get angry about everything and small things and everything. Choose the ones that are really worth fighting for. The ones that you think, okay, I'm going to use my anger on this one. And, I don't get angry very often. But on certain topic, if you poke me, yeah, I'll get angry. And now what happens is I usually try to find, how do I want to be angry? And that's something you need to find for yourself. How do you want to show up when you're angry? What's the state? How do you want to be when you're angry? And one thing I didn't want to be is aggressive, violent, judgmental, all of these things that might, when you're angry, you might want to push very strongly against the source of anger. I kind of thought, okay, when I'm angry, I'm actually defending something that I care about. So I want to be close to my heart and my values and why I'm angry, rather than you're wrong and you make me angry, but more like, okay, this is important to me. I want to say something about it, and I want to say it in a constructive way. So that means I need to pace myself, slow down my breathing, and often my voice will kind of start being lowered, just to give weight to what I'm going to say. Because often when we are poked and we feel anger, instead of slowing down, taking in and going, okay, I'm going to respond to this, we just rush in, because anger is so powerful. We just rush into the thing because we have all of this energy of anger and it, wants to explode. But actually the thing to do is more to kind of step back and kind of go, okay, so I'm feeling this anger here. And keep it in just a little bit, just so that you have time to go, okay, now I do want to say something with this anger, but I want to say it in my own way. So it does take some practice. Huh? I'm not saying it works straight away. So again, practice, as I said, practice, discipline, having the courage to continue trying things is very important. If you want to make change in yourself, like changing the way you react with anger, for example, is a change. And then you can change your environment, your team, and etc.
Wow, so many things here, Stephanie, so many things. But what I would highlight here is the awareness that you're talking about, the awareness of this fire in our belly.
Yeah.
We want to change something, and then because emotions go up, we go back to the girl, don't we? Because that's the program that we were imbued in when we were growing up. We go back there, and because now we have a bigger body, we want to shout, scream. So it's very important to tame the beast and to train ourselves to say, you're the girl, you want to shout, you want to hit this person. But now, what would the woman do? That's the girl who was not listened to.
Yeah.
But what would the woman do?
Yeah, I like that. I don't usually work that way in terms of girl and woman, but I like this approach. I think that's very interesting. And I actually don't tame the beast. I actually befriend the beast. That's what I do.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Awesome.
Because to me, taming means that I'm superior, and that, there's an element of control, an element of I've got a leash, or there's something like that. And I love animals, as well. So the image doesn't fit with me. But yeah, they can be beasts, where they're very scary and big, and big dragons or whatever, So for me, it's not about taming; it's more about befriending.
Oh, that's so much more powerful. The image is let's work together, rather than you're going to do what I tell you to do.
Yeah,
that's why you're a wise woman.
And what happens when you befriend the beast is you can start a dialogue. And I think, and now
Yes.
it might look silly because sometimes you just have to, like, split yourself in two, and then this is me and this is my emotion and the beast, and we're just having this dialogue. Some people are going, oh, this woman is completely crazy. But anyway, it's my internal that we have these dialogues anyway. Let's just make more consciously and say, okay, now I want to talk to my fear. What is my fear telling me? And I'm not going to try to belittle my fear. I'm not going to try to tell my fear, you're so stupid. This is not rational. This is never going to happen. I don't want to talk down to my fear, because what it will do is it will never disappear. It will just hide, but it will work in the dark with you not
in
knowing.
The shade.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, from the shade.
Well, exactly. But when you have a dialogue with it, then you can be constructive. Then you can say, okay, what are you really scared of? Okay. And, and then you can say, okay, what if we did this? Would that make you feel safer? What if, and then you start finding solutions or things that will reassure yourself. There's a technique I share, which is called the worst case scenario. Now, that's a scary thing to go through, but it really works. Okay? Especially many women I've found are very future oriented. So being future oriented means that you project scenarios, you kind of from now, and the line of consequences, if then kind of things, and then you can have tree thinking into all the different scenarios. Anyway, so this is great. I mean, our brain has got this wonderful capacity to do that, which is great for making movies. And you're projecting a vision and a scenario, and you're creating movies and entertainment, and we love that. It's great for planning at work, because you have all of these projects and you're building something or an event or a thing, and you need the capacity to project into the future and know, okay, how are we going to assemble this? How are we going to work it? And retro planning, all of these things. If we want to go there, we need to plan our journey that way. So great. The problem is the dark side, the shade side of that ability is that it can take us into very dark scenarios sometimes, where fear is just running wild. Yeah. And I often use this example in training where I say, now, you're going to laugh because obviously it's about insecurity as well, So, for example, not at the end of a training, but during a training about emotions, I would say, okay, let's say one of you, and I pick one person and say, oh, Mark, let's say, Mark, you don't like my training. Yeah. Happens, I'm not perfect. You don't like it. And you say something to me like, yeah, not a big fan of this. Okay. And today, if I'm feeling a bit insecure or something, I'm a bit tired, I don't know. I take this what I take as a criticism, and my mind starts to go with that. It runs with it. And it says, oh, they do not like my training. And you can see the first bias from one person saying something. I generalize, our brain does that. They did not like my training. Okay. And you can hear all the if then. If they do not like my training, they will give me a bad evaluation. Okay. If I get a bad evaluation, my client is not going to want to work with me anymore. If this client doesn't want to work with me anymore, I lose quite a lot of my turnover for this year. If I lose a lot of my turnover for this year, I'm not going to be able to pay myself as much as I do right now. If I can't pay myself as much as I do right now, I'm not going to be able to pay for the mortgage every month. If I can't pay for the mortgage, I lose the house. If I lose the house, I'm homeless. Okay. Now, I went from, in that, I'm slowing it down and it's very conscious in the way that I'm doing it. But these are typical scenarios that from one criticism, one event, one something, my brain goes way far into the future, into a line of probability that's probably next to zero. And if we look at very rationally, the chances that this happens in that sequence of event is infinitely close to zero. Yeah. And I love statistics. Yeah. The problem is your fear is not a trained statistician. So you can put on your researcher hat and rational hat and talk to your fear and say, but look, if I will show you that you are wrong, because the statistics will show you that this will not happen. And the fear says, nah, don't understand statistics. The possibility is one. As long as there's a possibility, maybe in a million, in a billion, whatever, but there is still one possibility, one universe in which this sequence of events exists. So fear will still hang on to this and say, this could happen. And we're not ready for that. Please look at it. Okay? So that's already a very scary discussion to have with yourself to get to that point. But that's not the end of the exercise, because otherwise you don't want to stay with that feeling of, oh, I'm homeless, I'm just no, I don't want to be there. So what you do is actually imagine, with this dialogue that you have with your fear, what you do is you actually say, hey, okay, imagine we are homeless. I know that's very scary right now, but imagine we are. Right now we've lost the house. Okay, what can we do now? And you start having a very constructive conversation with yourself about resolving an improbable problem, but with a very concrete solution. And you start thinking, okay, now I put my constructive hat on. It's like, okay, so imagine I'm homeless. What do I do? Okay, well, I can go live at my mom's. Don't like that solution. That's okay. Don't need to like it. You just need to know there is one. Okay, that's one. Okay, maybe I can find others, because at some point you're like, no, I don't really like that solution. Let's find other solutions just in case, Okay, I have some friends. They have a spare room. They're very nice. Okay, but maybe I have a time limit on where I can, how long I can live at their place. Okay, so, but that gives me, another bit of solution. Okay, what else? Oh, the market at the moment in the Netherlands is quite good. So I would have to sell it. I probably will be able to sell quickly. The house, I bought it that many years. Maybe I'll make some money out of it. Okay, so maybe I can rent a place with the money. Okay, but I need to buy some time in between. So you see how now I'm not in a fear mode. I'm in a very constructive mode. Now I am resolving a problem that probably will never happen. Yeah. So it is weird to put your energy into solving a problem that doesn't exist, but it works because your fear now has done the job. It has alerted you onto a possibility. You have found a solution to that. It is now reassured, which is what it was looking for. And it's like, okay, thanks, bye. And now it can go away. But until you actually address your fear, talk to it, and do something very constructive with it, it will kind of be in the background and it will resurface every time you are triggered by different things like that. So yeah, that's a top tip for fear.
It makes a lot of sense, and I must admit that I've done that. Be panicked in fear, and then say, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah.
So I was like you, I was thinking I can sell my house and I can go live in a place where it's way cheaper to live.
Yeah.
And still I've got some skills and I could teach this, I could work here, I could work there, I could clean somebody else's house. There are so many things that could be done. And I thought, yeah, I would always have enough food on my plate because I can get it out of somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's empowering. That's changing
Exactly.
with something empowering.
That's the whole thing. You can be really empowered with your emotions. Most of the time we feel victim of our emotions. It's like it happens to us and then we're like, oh, and it's moving us, but not in a way that we want to be moved, or we don't know what to do with that. But if we start to understand them, then we can move with it, and the energy that they give, I will give link to my videos, because each emotion will give you a message, and then it gives you a strategy, and then you feel empowered. You're like, okay, I'm feeling sad. Okay, what can I do with that? I'm feeling scared. What can I do with that? I'm feeling angry. What can I do with that? And that's, I'm not saying it solves everything and you will feel magically better, but it will give you a sense of empowerment. It will help you move in a more conscious way. And I think that is very important.
Is move away from hopelessness.
Yes.
Anything away from that is an improvement.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, to say acknowledge our own emotions that we've been trained not to feel. Acknowledge them because they're there to give us information.
Yes. And that's what I'm doing in companies, because my background is that I'm very sensitive. And when I started working a long time ago in corporations, I just didn't feel I could be myself, because I was so sensitive and things like that. And you are taught, not to show emotions and all of these things. And it felt so unnatural, because to me, emotions are so natural that I had to become unnatural, and so that's why I left the corporate world to, in a way, kind of distance myself from these environments. But then I'm going back in a different way, because, by training people, by changing corporate cultures, then hopefully, the work that people are doing with themselves, of allowing themselves to express who they are, to express their emotion, hopefully there will be more and more safe environments to do that at work. And that's kind of one of my missions.
Wow, that's a big mission, but it makes sense. That's what we need now, that we go to work happily.
Yeah.
Rather than I go to work to get some wages at the end of the month.
Yeah.
Which is the case for so many. Statistics that I read time ago was 80%, and I was surprised that it was that high.
Yeah.
In the companies that I work for, no, it would be closer to 99. I just come here for the paycheck.
But one good thing that this Corona crisis has brought is more awareness about these subjects, because it has kind of focused and put a lot of light on emotions that we feel in crisis, and how we are shaken by all of this, and how we need to help each other, and how it can be difficult for people. So the trend was in management and leadership, more and more emotional intelligence was coming. But still, some people were not, they were doing it because it's like, okay, we have to do this training, and okay, I'll stop, But the crisis has kind of put a light on how important it is. And in a way, well, if we can look at one good side about this, is that, look at what's really important in the workplace.
Yeah, so I completely agree with you that this crisis is helping us look inside more than outside.
Yeah.
Wow. wise woman. And I love it. So much wisdom, but again, shared from this feminine energy, which is, I want to share with you. I don't want to command you. I don't want to push it on top of you. It's just about, it's from love. It's from compassion. It's from, let's just remember that we're all equal.
Definitely.
Let's be ourselves and remove our masks, because from there we can give way more. If we need to be holding the mask and the shield and everything, we can't do everything else.
Yeah, tiring, and you don't have authentic relationship, because people, if they show you love, if you're not showing yourself, then they're actually loving your mask, not you. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So you might feel, oh, people are putting some likes on my profiles, or, but actually, if I'm not showing myself, what are they liking? They're liking what I show. And if what I show is the mask, they're liking the mask. Great.
Yeah.
But they're not liking me. And in this quest for love, people get the wrong approach, that they just try to be loved by showing what people will love. And it's just like completely the wrong approach. Show yourself. And yes, some people will not love you. Good. That means we can, have a choice in who we love, and that's fine,
Exactly.
but what I found is the more I shared my little stories, my insecurities and things I've learned and things I'm not proud of and all of this, the more I feel better because I am actually talking the truth, let's say. And B, I know that these stories might resonate with some people because they are true stories and they're universal stories. It's not just my story. I mean, we all share all of these. That's what I've understood is that, for a long time, I felt I was an alien. I didn't understand what was going on and people were not as sensitive as me and, all of this. So I felt a lot of disconnection. But the more I started to know people and, kind of understand who they are, how they work, the more I find I was human like them and they were human like me. And actually, we all shared the same universal stories. And let's talk about these stories. So by talking about my stories or sharing stories of my clients in training or in other conferences and networks, I know that it will resonate with yours.
Yeah. We're giving others the permission to be themselves, not to be embarrassed or shamed.
Yeah. And see that
guilt for feeling rage or
exactly. So it's we are whole human beings, just take it, kind of. I don't know how to finish, but this is
accept our nature, be in good terms with our nature. And by us being in good terms with our nature, feeling compassion for another person, it just comes so easily.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Wow, awesome. When people want to connect with you, Stephanie, where do we send them to?
Oh, LinkedIn. I don't use Facebook, but I'm on LinkedIn and I'm happy to connect. I share a lot on LinkedIn, on our website and things like that. So read, ask questions, connect, this is open.
I can tell you that she does answer. Such an angel on earth. And from here, I want to thank Ingun as well because she put me in the path to you. Yeah, keep flapping your wings.
The message is don't take yourself too seriously either.
That being said, we are all called to greatness. I believe so. And that we are all angels. So that sometimes, I don't know, our wings are very small and we put too many bags behind on top of them, but we all have it. We all have it in ourselves. Stephanie, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It was a pleasure. I love you too.